Welcome to The Source, where we combine the headlines with in-depth conversations with the newsmakers themselves. Today on the program, a long journey home. After more than a century, the Balangiga bells are back in the country.
The return of the Balangiga does not belong to any worker or officials of government.
Providing closure to one of the darkest chapters of Philippine-American history.
It is a very emotional journey, and I always cry every time.
And symbolizing stronger ties between the two countries.
This is something that many people have worked on for a very long time.
Also, what lies ahead in the Philippine-U.S. relations? U.S. Ambassador to the Philippines, Song Kim, joins us live. And later, it's not only Filipino pride. Another country is also proud of Catriona Gray's victory. That's for today's In Focus.
This program is brought to you by Bank of Commerce, an affiliate of San Miguel Corporation.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Pinky Webb. The return of the Balangiga bell signals the renewal of stronger ties between the Philippines and the United States. The bells are now in eastern Samar after more than a century. The bells were taken as war booties by American troops during the Philippine-American War. Also, a look at the highlights of cooperation between the Philippines and U.S. and what can Filipinos expect in the coming years. Let's go straight to the source of the story. United States Ambassador to the Philippines, Song Kim. Ambassador, good to have you again. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
So I also want to say happy anniversary to you. You came here December 1, I believe, and that was over 2 years ago.
That's right.
How's the experience so far?
It's been wonderful. I mean, I'm enjoying it immensely. I wanted to come to the Philippines, and I was excited to get the assignment, but I'm actually enjoying it more than I had expected.
Really?
It's been wonderful. Busy. Challenging at times, but very exciting.
Let's go first to the busy part. What has made it so busy for you?
Well, I mean, I think it's an indication of the importance of this relationship. There are many exciting aspects to this relationship. Of course, we have our military partnership, which remains as relevant as ever. We have a very strong economic partnership, and I think that continues to grow. Strong people-to-people ties. We're doing a lot of exchanges at academic levels, culture, sports, etc. So many things going on in the relationship. USAID continues to do great work here in the Philippines. U.S. Peace Corps has a strong presence here. So it keeps me busy.
Let's go to the challenging part. You said it's busy and challenging.
Well, you know, I think all of us are operating in a challenging environment. We have new threats. Cybersecurity is a big concern for all of us. Terrorism continues to be a huge challenge here in the Philippines. We saw that in the Malawi siege last year. So all of us are trying to find best ways to work together to deal with these new global transnational challenges.
All right. So you said the experience has been busy and challenging. There was an article I read, I believe it was the Philippine Star, that just must have been about a year ago, and you said that there was something that you recognized or learned about the Philippines a year ago. But coming into your second anniversary, what have you learned so far about the Philippines?
Yeah, I think it's more the same. I mean, I've been struck by the warmth of Filipino people and the energy of this country. It's a very young population, very smart population, hardworking population. And I think there's great potential to this country. And I believe there's great potential to the relationship between our two countries as well. It's already a wonderful relationship, but I believe it can be deeper and broader.
Much excitement, Ambassador, upon the return, of course, of the Balangiga bells. You obviously were there and you spoke together with Secretary Delphine Lorenzana. I just want to bring a portion of what you said during the return of the bells.
President Duterte followed up with a personal appeal to our Secretary of Defense, James Mattis, who, like all of us here today, recognized that returning the bells is the right thing to do, and that by returning the bells, the U.S. could restore to its friend and ally an important symbol of national independence. The return of the bells lets us reflect on the U.S.-Philippines relationship, where we have been, where we are, and where we are going.
After more than a century, Ambassador, 117 years, so many people were there, senators and even congressmen. But I spoke to Secretary Delfin Lorenzana. We were texting each other, and there was really a lot of excitement. Can you just share with us not the journey back to the Philippines, but what it was like at Villamor?
It was a great day for our alliance, for peoples of both countries. It was deeply emotional. I think all of us at the ceremony felt emotions, deep emotions about what was happening. Great day for the alliance, and as I mentioned in my remarks, it was definitely the right thing to do.
You were quoted so much when you kept saying it's the right thing to do. Also important was a part when you said that it's a reflection of U.S.-Philippine relations, where we were, where we are, and where we are going. Maybe you can answer that for us. Where are we, and where are we headed?
Sure. I mean, let's start with where we have been. I think the return of the bells reflected the shared values and shared history between our two countries. Of course, that shared history also included a painful episode reflected in the bells. But where we are now is that we are a very strong partner of equals. We have deep respect for Philippines' independence, sovereignty, and it's on the basis of that partnership, equal partnership, that we're pursuing our shared goals and interests on economic front, on our strategic partnership, on a whole host of causes important to both countries. Where we are going, I think, is the most exciting. I really do believe that the potential for this country and for our relationship is great. And I believe that on the economic front, we will continue to deepen our trade and investment ties. People-to-people ties cannot be ignored. I mean, we have 4 million Filipino-Americans contributing to the American society. We have over 350,000 Americans living in the Philippines. We continue to be, our embassy continues to be one of the largest visa issuance posts globally, which means that we're continuing to invite and send many Filipinos to the United States for business, for education, etc. So I think our ties will continue to deepen in the years and decades to come.
Not everybody quite happy, I mean, not completely happy with the return of the Balangiga bells. Congressman Zarate was saying that the bells, the return of the bells, should have come with an apology. What do you say to that?
You know, I always like to look at the positive, and I think the return of the bells was a reflection of the enduring strength of our relationship, our respect for the Philippines, but also respect for the past. And I think, as I said many times, it was the right thing to do, and I'm very glad, grateful that we made the decision to return the bells.
That took many, well, a century, a lot of presidents, people working behind the scenes to get the Balangiga bells back. I wanted to talk about your meeting with the president. As far as I know, sir, there were two meetings, one-on-one. One was in September 11, if I'm not mistaken, and you were quoted, or in your Twitter, you said, you really just talked about defense priorities and economic partnership. There was another one in December, if I'm not mistaken. Can you just give us a little bit more information on your meetings with the president?
Sure. I actually had more than a couple of meetings with the president this year. I think I've had 4 or 5 meetings this year. You know, they're always very substantive meetings. We discuss issues of interest to both countries. Sometimes we talk about regional security challenges like North Korea. Sometimes we talk about South China Sea. We talk about, of course, our alliance, the state of our alliance, including all of the joint exercises that we're performing together. We talk about equipment transfers, defense equipment transfers between United States, from the United States to the Philippines. We also talk about economic issues. So I very much enjoy my meetings with the president. They're substantive, they're detailed, they often have good humor in them.
Are they're friendly?
I think so. I'd like to think so.
Yeah. All right. Is there anything substantial in your last meeting? What was the last meeting in
Last
December?
meeting was, in fact, the day of the Villamor ceremony.
I see.
So right after the bells ceremony, I had a meeting with the president.
And was there anything substantial that you can share? Any commitments coming from the United States or the Philippines?
Well, I think it was another occasion of reaffirmation of our commitment to the relationship and also reaffirmation of Philippines' commitment to the relationship. The President began the meeting by thanking the American people and the American government for the return of the bells. So it was a very pleasant, cordial meeting.
Mm-hmm. All right. We also want to talk about some of the other highlights of American-U.S. relations. Can you just give us a little bit more of maybe a report on highlights so far?
My 2 years have been, as I mentioned at the start, very, very exciting. And as I look back, I think some of the highlights, of course, the return of the bells is at the top of the list. Malawi siege, obviously an unfortunate development for the Philippines, but how we work together in Malawi, again, is a great example of the strength of the relationship. Those were 5 difficult months for the Filipino people and for the armed forces of the Philippines. And I think we were tremendous partners throughout the siege and, of course, afterwards with our USAID assistance for the people of Malawi. So I would also put that as, while a very difficult and unfortunate situation, a great highlight of the ties between our two countries. On the economic front, I think recently we had made great progress with some long-standing issues under the Trade and Investment Framework Agreement. And I'm hopeful that the resolution of those issues will mean that we will be able to expand our trade ties going forward. I should mention one of the deeply emotional highlights for me was when I had the opportunity to award Congressional Gold Medals to Filipino veterans of World War II. So they were aged ranging from 90 to over 100, and it was just so inspiring to meet them and to have the opportunity to give them what they deserve, which is this congressional recognition of their services. It was really very touching. And in fact, many of them came in wheelchairs, but when it was time for them to receive the medal, they actually insisted on walking up to the podium together. It was really deeply emotional and inspiring.
We'll be taking a short break. This is The Source on CNN Philippines. The joint oil and gas exploration between the Philippines and China, is it a concern for the United States? U.S. Ambassador to the Philippines, Sung Kim, will still be with us after the break. You're watching The Source on CNN Philippines. Our guest today, U.S. Ambassador to the Philippines, Sung Kim. Ambassador, you were also in Malawi. Was that very recent?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, it's to launch what is called the Malawi Response Project, which is about 1.35 billion peso project. Where is this going to go?
So I had a chance to visit Malawi a couple of months ago, and it was again a very important experience for me because there I saw sort of the best and the worst of human behavior. The extent of the destruction I saw in Malawi was just awful, horrendous. But then I had a chance to visit a school there and to see the spirit of students, teachers, and administrators in the school, despite all of their challenges. It was really quite inspiring. And that's why I think the U.S. government is so committed to helping the people of Malawi. And so the assistance that you've mentioned will go towards some educational initiatives, but also some community building, social cohesion type projects. Earlier on, right after the siege ended, we also provided assistance more focused on urgent humanitarian needs like drinking water and medicine and temporary shelters. But this one is sort of more for longer-term development projects.
I think isn't it a 3-year project?
That's right.
All right. Any other aid in the region that we can talk about?
Oh, well, USAID has a long history of projects in Mindanao region, and those continue, and they cover education, social welfare, governance, a whole range of activities. In Mindanao, frankly, throughout the country. I mean, I'm very proud of what USAID has done in the Philippines for many decades.
The Philippines obviously has an independent foreign policy. Very recently, a month or so ago, was this a joint talks on joint oil and gas exploration in the South China Sea. Ambassador, is this a cause of concern for the United States?
Well, first of all, I mean, every country should have an independent foreign policy. I'm not at all surprised that President Duterte has highlighted the need for the Philippines to make its own decisions based on its own interest and independent foreign policy. Every country does that. And the fact that Philippines is interested in improving relations with China also is not surprising and is not by itself a cause for concern. I think all other countries in the region want to have a productive, constructive relationship with China, especially on trade and investment. What I focus on is making sure that U.S.-Philippines alliance continues strong even as Philippines improves relations with other countries, including China. And I'm quite confident that our relationship in all aspects, including, of course, our very strong alliance, remains very much intact. In fact, it continues to grow, despite the fact that Philippines is improving relations with other countries.
The trust rating is still very high, Ambassador.
Very much so.
To the United States. So it's not a cause for concern, the joint exploration between the Philippines and China in the South China Sea?
Well, the question of joint exploration is for the Filipino people and Filipino government to decide. I mean, I would expect that they would be cautious in how they approach this initiative, given what's the dynamics in play, including the fact that both Philippines and China are claimants in the South China Sea dispute.
Would this in any way affect freedom of navigation or overflight?
It should not. I mean, freedom of navigation and overflight are international rights for everybody. It does not belong to any set of countries. And this is, in fact, one of the reasons why we continue to conduct freedom of navigation operations, because it is a way to protect those rights and principles.
Ambassador, let me go back to what you earlier said, that the Philippines, it's the right of the Philippines to get into any joint exploration with any country, but we just need to be cautious. When you say cautious, what exactly do you mean by that? Indeed, if the Philippines gets into anything with China?
Well, I think you and your colleagues in the media have highlighted the need to make sure to do it in a way that protects Philippines' sovereignty and interests. And that's all I'm talking about.
All right. Economic investments, maybe good to talk about that. You were also in Clark very recently. Speaker Gloria Macapagal-Arroyo was there. She said that there should not be, as she said, any conflict if we're friends with China, to be friends with the United States as well. But we look at Texas Instrument as a multi-billion-dollar investment in Clark, and she was actually, well, pushing, letting you know, together with the Hungarian ambassador, if I'm not mistaken, to invest more in the Philippines. Is there anything in the pipeline that you know of?
I think many U.S. companies are interested in doing business in the Philippines. I mean, Texas Instruments is a perfect example of a successful initiative between the Philippines and the United States. In fact, Texas Instruments is still the largest exporter from the Philippines, which is quite impressive. And I had a chance to visit their plants in both Baguio and Clark, and it was really quite impressive to see. So I hope that other U.S. companies will also make a large investment here in the Philippines, but I don't have anything specific.
No commitment yet.
Nothing to announce today.
Okay, joint exercises between the Philippines and the United States, sir.
They continue very strong. In fact, getting stronger and stronger. In fact, exercise planners have already started to plan and prepare for exercises next year, and I think it's going to be a very robust lineup of major exercises, including, of course, Balikatan, which is our largest annual exercise.
Do you have any idea how many joint exercises there will be next year, an approximate?
Actually, when you count like smaller scale exercises and exchanges, it's in the hundreds.
Wow. In coordination, of course, with Secretary Delfin Lorenzana. There was a survey, Ambassador, that came out that saying majority of Filipinos actually expect the United States to defend the Philippines in case of an invasion. Let's put that up on the screen. 61% believe this, 90% do not believe this, and 30% are undecided. This was well, commissioned June 27 to 30 of this year. We just wanted to get your reaction on this.
So it's 9% that do not believe. Right?
Do not.
9, right?
Yeah.
Right. I think an overwhelming majority of Filipinos do have confidence in our alliance, and they do trust that we will defend the Philippines if the Philippines is attacked or invaded by a foreign country. And they're right to believe so. Our commitment to this alliance is absolute. It's ironclad. And I fully expect that we will come to the defense of the Philippines if any foreign nation were to attack the Philippines. And in fact, if you look at the poll, I mean, 30% is undecided, but I suspect great majority of that undecided actually lean towards believing and having trust in the United States.
Going to the 61%. I mentioned a while ago, Ambassador, that Secretary Delfin Lorenzana was here very recently, and I asked him about reports of Chinese weather stations in the disputed areas in the South China Sea, and he said that well, that's not really a concern, but there's another concern. I think he was talking more about radars, but it's best to listen to exactly what Secretary Delfin Lorenzana said.
We should be concerned about radars that can will neutralize our communications, to jam our communications. Radars that can guide missiles to its destination. That's what we are concerned about, but not weather stations. We cannot go there and inspect them physically.
We'll never know.
Yes, yes.
I guess my question, Ambassador, is can the United States help the Philippines in that regard? Has the Philippines asked for help? Has the United States offered to help?
Well, I think our position on the whole South China Sea situation has been quite consistent, and you've heard it before many times. But I mean, we call on all claimants to refrain from any aggressive unilateral actions, and we call on all countries to refrain from militarization of those features. Obviously, Secretary Lorenzana is talking about radars that are military equipment. So I would say that's militarization, and in fact, Chinese have committed to refrain from militarization. So I think it is cause for concern that they're not living up to their commitment to refrain from militarization of those features. I mean, we continue to stay in very close touch with Secretary Lorenzana and the leaders of the armed forces of the Philippines, and developments around the Philippines, in the Philippines, and of course in South China Sea. And we'll continue to do so.
Ambassador, how would you describe now Philippine-U.S. relations?
I think it's excellent. It's outstanding, and again, returning to the bells, those return of the bells, I think really symbolizes the state of the relationship, the depth of the relationship, and the mutual respect we have for each other.
What can we expect next year?
I think it's going to be more of the same, but better in all aspects. As you mentioned, the exercises will continue. I expect them to be more robust than they were this year. I think our economic partnership will continue to grow, and Filipinos and Americans have a deep affection for each other, and I expect that to deepen in the years ahead.
2019 will be more exciting for Philippine-U.S. relations, you think?
Oh, I think so.
Ambassador to the Philippines, Sung Kim, always a pleasure to have you, and Merry Christmas, sir, to you and your family.
Thank you, and I neglected to mention congratulations to Catriona Gray for winning Miss Universe. A great day for the Philippines.
I know, a great day for the Philippines, of course. So many good things happened very recently. Ambassador, again, maraming salamat.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. This is The Source on CNN Philippines. Still to come, another country is also proud of Catriona Gray's victory at the Miss Universe pageant. That's for today's In Focus.